Hello people, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Okay guys, I've got a post here from Hedera and I think you're going to want to see this. So it says, Invisible Ubiquity. Mance Harmon spoke with CNBC about what success looks like for Hedera. Quote, if we think about the internet, it runs on technologies that no one has ever heard of. Hedera will be the same, unquote. So it did say invisible ubiquity in quotes as well, and success in quotes. I think this is because obviously they're taking away, one, success can be subjective, and this is what obviously Mance is defining as success. So for example, for, you know, like leemon baird, he might look at success differently, right? So that's why they're in quotes. But I think this is a real great thing to go into. So first and foremost, you can see that Mance is speaking with CNBC. I covered something recently before where I think it was Mance again who was speaking with CNBC. So you're seeing the mainstream, you know, starting to get into the mainstream media, starting to get into like crypto a lot more, which is obviously great to see because it just shows that, you know, crypto is going mainstream. So that's always a positive. But yeah, I want to get into what's been said here. So invisible ubiquity. So for me, what I just think about when Mance says this is I just think about mass adoption. And this is what I've been telling you guys the whole time in terms of trying to make a network, you know, eligible for mass adoption. And the way he's broke it down here is very relevant. If we think about the internet, it runs on technologies no one has ever heard of. Hedera will be the same. So you've got to think, like, when we use the internet, we know generally how the internet works, right? We know the basic stuff, but there's a lot of things about the internet that we probably don't know. Like, for example, HTTPS, HTTP, all these things that, you know, protocols and stuff that are used in terms of like websites and things like that. We know the basics, but, you know, for the majority of us, we don't know how everything works. And it's the same for, like, you can put it, for example, in terms of a car, right? You may not know how to fix a car, right? If someone says to you, like, you know, the head gasket's gone or something like that, you know, the exhaust, the back box has gone or whatever, like, you may not have no idea how to fix those things, but they need to be fixed, right? For the car to work. Same with the internet. There could be things that happen to a computer and you've got no idea what they're talking about when they tell you the issue. But these things, you know, can affect a computer. And I think this is exactly what we're talking about with crypto, right? There's a lot of people who, when we talk about like mass adoption, you know, for guys like yourselves who are watching me now, you're going to have a bit more of an understanding because you guys are doing all the legwork, right? You're watching these types of videos, you're trying to learn more about the networks and how crypto works. So you guys are going to have a bit more of an understanding. But for example, there's going to be a lot of people out there who won't know how to do self-custody, for example, right? They'll just be like, I have no idea how you have self-custody with crypto. I don't know how to do it. I don't understand it. I don't get the whole, you know, the seed phrase and all that kind of stuff. Because, you know, look, when I first got into crypto, when I very first heard about crypto, I told you guys this a few times now, but the reason why I didn't get into Bitcoin was because of the whole seed phrase thing. Like, when somebody was explaining to me what the seed phrase was, I had no idea what they meant, and I just didn't bother to look into it any further. Now, if I had have, I'd be very rich today. So that's kind of like my tale of, you know, cautionary tale there. Like, when you see something that could be revolutionary, it's worth at least looking into. But that's why when I saw all this happening with Bitcoin, I was like, okay, let me get my second chance. I'm not going to mess this up this time. I'm going to do all the necessary legwork and the research so I can get into some cryptos that I feel are going to be valuable. And here I am today. So the point that I'm just making here is there's going to be a lot of things that's happening within, you know, crypto networks, Hedera being one of them, where not everybody's going to understand it, but it's going to be there. And that's the part of the ubiquity, right? It's, even though it's invisible, like, even though you might not realize this is happening day to day, it's going to be a thing of, it's there, it's everywhere. Like, you know, so even, for example, when we look at the use case that we have in regards to the card terminals, right? So, you know, you go into a shop and you use your card terminal just like you normally would, but now you'll notice that there probably won't be any fee barriers. It won't be, hey, you've got to do this much minimum spend to be able to use the card terminal. No, now you'll just be able to use however much money you want to spend will be fine. Why? Well, because if it's running on blockchain technology or hashgraph technology, well, it'll be able to go through pretty much instantly straight away. So first and foremost, you won't have this whole thing where your card gets earmarked for a payment to go out. It will just go out there and then. But also, it will go out for very cheap. Like the fee for the merchant or the shop is not going to be very expensive. So for them, it's like, hey, this is great. Like, we can put these through now. You know, people can buy what they want. We haven't got to worry about a certain amount for them to be able to use a card terminal, because it's not really going to cost us anything anyway. So we might as well just carry on with it. So it's going to be this kind of thing that's really going to get you to a point where, you know, you start to see the success, right? Like, this is the thing that we're talking about with crypto long term. Crypto is going to be involved in our life, you know, in a very big way. And again, how, you know, Mance referred to the internet, that's a very relevant thing now, because again, with a card terminal, without the internet, you can't do that, right? This is all through like signal through the internet and things like that. So if we wasn't here with the internet, these kinds of things wouldn't be possible either. So you can see how the internet is another like example of being invisible but ubiquitous, right? Like that's another prime example of how this works. And so what you think about here with Hedera is like, when it's out here being utilized for numerous different things, being tokenized on, being used for cross-border payments by certain banks, you know, being used for, you know, medical reasons, people using it just as a ledger in terms of putting data on here for data protection, that kind of thing, protecting AI, all these things. There'll be a point where this is just normal, and not everybody's going to know these things are happening in the background. These things will just be happening. But that's when we're talking about the mass adoption scale. And so as soon as I, like, you know, watch this video, because there's a video about this as well, I was just like, I got it straight away. And I was like, I completely understand his vision and what he's saying. And to me, that's great, because I think that's what we're looking for. That's the long-term goal, in my opinion. And so clearly, Mance is thinking exactly what I would be thinking. And don't get me wrong, that's not me trying to say, you know, he's in line with me. I'm more in line with him, right? He's the creator of like the Hedera hashgraph. So please understand, I'm not trying to act like, you know, I'm on his level. But I'm just saying that I definitely agree with his thoughts here on what he's defining what the success will be long term. So yeah, I thought this was just worth sharing because, you know, like it's a very small clip that they've got on Hedera's X profile, but it tells you all you need to know, right? It tells you all you need to know. And ultimately what we're talking about is mass adoption. And that's what he's saying here. Like, he's talking about what will lead to mass adoption. And I agree. It's something that you don't have to understand how it works or know that it's there to utilize it, because you just use something and it works, and that's it. So it could be like, oh, okay, I still go to the shop, and, you know, suddenly now when I, you know, make payments, it just goes straight through. Like it used to be that it would be earmarked and stuff, and everything happens a lot faster, which I prefer, because it just takes away from my balance straight away. I'm going to worry about, is it going to go out? Is there going to be any problems? That kind of thing. And then you find out like maybe a year or so later, like, oh yeah, that was because it was on blockchain technology or hashgraph technology. And like, oh wow, really? Oh, I didn't realize, like that kind of thing, because it's just happening in the background. And that's what mass adoption is. You've not got to worry about understanding it or knowing how to use it. You've just got to use it and it just works, whatever it is that you're doing. That's what's going to get you there. So yeah, I really do agree with this. I thought this was very relevant. So glad to see this. And I think that's what we're looking for long term. That's really is the key to the success in the end. And I think Hedera will get there. If you ask me, in 5-10 years from now, when we're looking at crypto, which I'm sure is way more advanced than where we currently are, and the regulations will be in place, and, you know, these companies will be able to basically, you know, expand these networks extensively, because there won't be anything blocking them, you know, anything in their way. I think you'll see that this kind of stuff will be, you know, these kind of things that you see about these companies, they will be there. You know, like the networks will be, you know, running unilaterally with many different industries, embedded in many different industries, you know, financial infrastructure, that kind of stuff. It's just going to be in a thing where it's affecting our daily lives, whether we know it or not, you know. So I think that's great to see. And I thought this was very relevant, so I thought I'd share it with you. Thank you very much for watching this. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And hit that bell. Take care.